Today is Hi. Today is April 15th, Monday, 2013. You're listening to episode 9 of Virtualized Geeks Tech Talks. You know what? I just actually got through listening to a old podcast talking about cloud management, and they got me to actually thinking about one of my older blog posts on if enterprises should really even care about open source cloud management software. Just a recap of what cloud management software is. You think of uh, traditional data center automation tools, newer tools, or I'm not sure actually how new Puppet is, but tools that help you automate tasks within the data center, whether it's provisioning storage, bringing on new servers, automating bringing servers online. When you think about how do you do that in cloud computing, which is creating an interface for your users to access to provision new servers or creating a set of APIs for programmers to program against, that underlying software is cloud management software. I actually wrote a blog post last week that compared vCloud to OpenStack. And one of the aspects that I really didn't discuss was open source versus closed source. If you've ever actually looked into cloud management software, again, I have a couple of blog posts historically on VirtualizedGeek, and if you're listening to this from my YouTube channel, the one, if you scroll down there's a introduction to the cloud management software. One of the challenges with cloud management is that it's an extremely large problem and an extremely complicated problem to solve from a software development perspective. You're talking about automating storage, which storage by itself, you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on storage software. So when you talk about automating storage software against multiple storage platforms, VMware likes to call it software-defined storage or software-defined X in general. When you're talking about working with multiple hypervisors such as vSphere, KVM, Hyper-V, Xen, throw your any other hypervisor out there that might come on the market. And then when you talk about working with different network platforms and the level of automation that needs to happen when it comes to provisioning networks, creating private VLANs, creating virtualized containers, add multi-tenancy to it. There's an awful lot that goes into designing cloud management software. There's a lot into, if you're an enterprise, there's an awful lot into selecting the requirements around your cloud management suite. So the question kind of begs to offer, what's available out there on the market when it comes to cloud management. I really dummied down the post from last week and only looked at two solutions, vCloud and OpenStack, but you have Eucalyptus, you have Abaquo, you have NetApp, you have Dell has orchestration, traditional orchestration software that they're now packaged as cloud management software. Obviously, each vendor has its own flavor of OpenStack. And the bottom line got to, if you're an enterprise, would you be willing to invest the time into customizing a open source solution? So, you look at kind of the big open source solutions out there. Probably the two that we'll say three. We'll say Eucalyptus, OpenStack, and CloudStack from Citrix. If you look at the amount of effort needed to customize those applications for your environment, not only customize those applications for your environment, but also the talent that's needed to actually develop the extensions and customizations and hooks into your environment, it makes you really wonder if traditional enterprises have kind of the chops for taking on those types of challenges. You look at PayPal, Netflix, Zynga, internet companies, those developers already think in those terms that's required to either program for the cloud and manage infrastructures for the cloud. So those are challenges I think those companies are most definitely willing to undertake. But then when you think about the traditional enterprise, is the traditional enterprise willing to undertake those challenges in managing such complex software projects on their own? Obviously, there's a market that sprung up around, especially big open source projects like OpenStack. That I think Mantis is one of the companies that obviously gives the weight and the tool and development personnel needed to customize those applications. But even still, managing those projects are not very simple. I guess the argument can be made, when you deploy vCloud, when you deploy what was Novell's cloud manager, when you deploy Abaco, Eucalyptus, the commercial version. I don't know how much easier those applications are to deploy over a completely open source solution such as OpenStack. But at least there is already vendors thinking about having a finished product that has kind of as close a shrink wrap solution as possible. You look at just, the complexity of cloud requirements from the data center provider all the way down to the typical enterprise customer. They vary so widely that it's extremely difficult to wrap your arms around a solution. That's why I'm pretty impressed kind of with the OpenStack movement, at least from the data center provider and the provider's scope of it. There's been a lot of movement. There's been a lot of development and progress over the past few months. Rackspace actually has a installable package. If you are a traditional vCloud type administrator that's used to getting packaged software and installing and configuring packaged software as opposed to breaking out your Linux and downloading the source code and then compiling the source code to have it installed in the system, Rackspace has made it a little bit more simpler for you to deploy and at least test OpenStack out on parts of your development infrastructure. But again, that just getting the product installed is only just, I wouldn't even say it's half of the battle. A lot of it is really in the designing the orchestration, designing the interaction with the appliances, with the storage, with the networking, with the costing or performance measuring products within your environment. There's an awful lot of plugs that need to be designed for open source software, as well as if this is not a slant towards one or another. If you have vCloud and vCloud doesn't support your brand of ERP software that you use to measure computing time and resources between departments, what do? Do you hire a developer to develop that? Do you pressure, are you large enough to pressure VMware to provide the hooks needed for you to create the business rules around consumption that you need for your vCloud implementation? If you're a large contractor and you're deploying a community cloud and you have very specific security needs, will vCloud be flexible enough for you to create the type of multi-tenancy security needs that you or tools that you need to manage your environment, or would you have had to make the investment and might as well go with an OpenStack because then there's not much more development effort associated with that type of implementation? But back to the traditional enterprise again, just the thought around an enterprise tackling those types of challenges, got me to thinking about where OpenStack will fall in the hierarchy when it comes to managing private clouds and then moving from managing private clouds to managing hybrid clouds, where's the development effort? What does that put kind of, if not the reality, the perception of open source solutions like OpenStack, Eucalyptus, Abaquo, CloudStack, take your pick. The challenge, I think, is pretty equal throughout the industry, the open source industry. I'd like to get your feedback on this. I'll continue to do these podcasts, even if I only get 1 or 2 listeners a week. I think it's helpful. I just listened to a podcast that was back from February, and again, it was very helpful. So, if you're listening to this in 2014 in February the 15th or April the 15th, I appreciate you guys downloading the podcast and keep the comments coming. Thanks.